So typically on the side of the house next to your electrical panel, or it could be located somewhere different, we have our irrigation controller. Sometimes we'll install new ones, sometimes we work with an existing one. So you might want to go through with the superintendent, if we have installed a new one, a little bit about the operation of this panel. In this one here, this is a Hunter Pro C controller, and there's a display screen inside, wiring, and then the controls are all right here. For example, this one has Wi-Fi controls that you'll need a username and a password. So make sure you get all this set up with your superintendent if you have these Wi-Fi controls. Furthermore, you can operate manually some of this controller by some of the touch buttons to turn on irrigation systems, to check things over time, make sure everything's working. So pay attention to the location of your irrigation controller, because you're going to need access to this to change schedules, and so is your landscape maintenance company. So if we've installed any sort of irrigation to your project, work with your superintendent to find our irrigation shutoff valves. And right here, this is a backflow prevention device. If you have any problems with valves or irrigation, something's stuck, something's running, it can be shut off right here. In this situation, yours might look different. There's two blue valves. These have to be turned perpendicular to the pipe to shut off the water to the irrigation system. This right here is the hose bib that was installed by the builder, and this is a shut-off valve to the house itself. All these look a little bit different, so talk to your superintendent, find out what yours does, what yours operates, because this is a very important part of the watering system to your project in case of emergency. So let's talk irrigation. First off, Irrigation 101. You have to understand the theory behind irrigation. Watering every day might be something that's short-term and temporary when we first install trees and plants, but over time that needs to be dialed back. We call that weaning irrigation. In fact, some of our irrigation theory is you water longer run times and less often. So think about that. This means the water will go deeper so roots can grow deeper, thus resulting in a healthier plant, tree, turf root system. Initially, we set this up for daily, frequent waterings because of the immature root system of some of our container plants and trees. Over time, as the root system matures, you, the client, or your service company, needs to start cutting back water to more infrequent watering times. To help you do this, we will email a recommended guide to irrigation watering times. But please understand that these times can vary based on sun exposure, soil conditions, and the types of trees and plants. So what's the maintenance like on our irrigation systems? Well, typically we ask that you visually check for signs that your trees, your turf, your plants are not doing well. So if I come out and I look on maybe every week basis or so, and I see plants or trees that just don't look right, I'm going to start to think that that could be irrigation. So we're going to ask you to check some of the drip emitters to make sure those are dripping, that you're running the right correct watering times, things like that. So the drip emitters really need to be unclogged. They don't clog often, but they can. Those are non-warranty items. So check your drip emitters, check your run times, make sure everything's working as it's originally intended to work. So I'm here with this irrigation emitter, and we use a couple different types, so yours might vary, but this is what you want to see dripping water on the plant or the tree when you're servicing your irrigation system. These do not clog often, but they can clog, so you want to make sure that these are dripping. To service these, you can actually pull them off. You can put new ones on, and a lot of times ask your superintendent. We can leave you some extra emitters and extra parts for servicing your irrigation system. Overall, we do have a 2-year warranty on our irrigation system, but it does not cover any of the maintenance items that have to do with irrigation. For example, clogged emitters. That's something that we count on your landscape service company to do. We count on you, the homeowner, to do and to visually inspect. So again, if I was doing an inspection here, if this plant looked like it needed water or if it's struggling, I'm going to turn my irrigation system on and check that these drippers are actually working. All right, one of the most critical parts of our irrigation system is where the valves are located. So you need to make sure that you locate with your superintendent where our valve boxes are located so that you can get access to the valves that actually open and close the water to your irrigation system. In this case, we've got valve boxes. We've got our irrigation valves within these boxes. You'll see all this wiring in here, wire connections, and all these wires run back to your irrigation control timer. So if you have issues, you need to check your timer. You can also check the valves. So in this situation, we have our Hunter valve with our solenoid on top. There's a flow control in the center, and then it goes into a debris filter or a strainer, and that takes some of the particulates out for our drip system so that it does not clog the drip tubing, and then, or the drip emitters. And then you have a pressure reducer. So we're converting usually 60 to 80 psi household pressure down to anywhere from 20 to 30 psi for our drip systems. And that's the setup of the valve. You'll see some of the wiring in here as well with wire splices and connections, and that is to operate the solenoid valve, which opens and closes the valve using the timer. For the most part, these valves are not serviceable, meaning that you really need to contact an irrigation expert because there's not really a way to service these valves unless you're trained to do so. You just need to know the location of the valve box, so when your service professionals come out, you can point them in the right direction.